Hello, we begin with major developments from Turkey on the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Sources have told Al Jazeera that Saudi Arabia is willing to pay blood money to the family of Khashoggi, including his fiancée, Hatice Cengiz. Hashim Al-Bara is following developments from Istanbul.
More than a month since he was killed, Jamal Khashoggi's body has yet to be found, and there are more questions about his murder. But Turkish authorities have increased their pressure on the Saudi government by slowly leaking vital information. According to Turkish sources, CIA Director JD'ASYFK was briefed on the murder and had access to crucial evidence suggesting the order came from the highest levels of the Saudi government. Riyadh insists no member of the ruling royal family had a role in Khashoggi's death. But during his visit to Istanbul last month, Saudi Chief Prosecutor Saud al-Ma'jab reportedly told Turkish authorities that the kingdom was willing to pay blood money to Khashoggi's family and fiancée. He also said he had no idea about the whereabouts of the slain journalist's body. And as the investigation continues, Turkey's Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu says his country has more information.
Wants to give a name, and nobody can stop him to do that. So he emphasized in the article that the instruction didn't come from King Salman. But it is also obvious that those 15 people didn't come to Istanbul to murder Khashoggi themselves, so they got instructions from somebody. So we have to find out who gave these instructions. This is the simple question that we have put.
According to the Turkish daily Sabah newspaper, staff at the Saudi consulate tried to tamper with security camera outside the consulate, but Turkish police managed to retrieve the footage, providing the now famous image of Khashoggi walking into the building on the day he was killed. And we're finding out more about the teams that were sent to Turkey from Saudi Arabia.
And Hashim joins us now live from Istanbul. How significant is this mention of a possible payout by Saudi Arabia of blood money to Khashoggi's family and fiancée?
Lauren, it's an acknowledgement of wrongdoing by the Saudi government, the same way they do it according to the Islamic Sharia law, which is basically an act of wrongfully killing someone. You pay the blood money, and they say that they were willing to pay that money to his family, but also to his fiancée Hatice Cengiz. But that's, from a Turkish perspective, is a small detail. They say before we get to that point, we have to tackle the main issue, which is who bears the final ultimate responsibility for the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, and therefore they're pushing for knowing who gave the order to kill Jamal Khashoggi.
And what about the latest leaks on the makeup of the different teams that were sent out by Saudi Arabia to allegedly to help the murder investigation?
According to the daily Sabah newspaper, and the leaks that we've seen over the last few days, we're talking now about 3 teams. The surveillance team that came in advance, and then the death squad, and then the cleanup team that came disguised as investigators to help for the investigation. And according to the newspaper, their main goal was basically to cover up the murder by trying to help the dismembering the body, moving the body in 5 suitcases, into the consul's residence not far from here. And this explains why we're getting more statements over the last few days from senior Turkish government officials saying that they are concerned they may never be able to find the remains of Jamal Khashoggi. And they are now talking about the possibility that his remains were dissolved in ashes. And the reason why the Turkish government is now going into those details about the makeup of the teams is to highlight what they have been saying since day one, which is this was a premeditated killing. Because how come you send a surveillance team, death squad, cleanup team, unless you have a plan well in advance to try to carry out the killing and then cover up the case?
Hashim Halbara, thank you very much. Jamal Al-Shayal has the latest from Ankara.
The fact that Turkish officials decided to announce that they had informed the CIA director, Gina Haspel, of all the evidence that they had been able to collate with regards to the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi would appear to indicate that Ankara is trying to put pressure on Washington to take a firmer stance with regards to this crisis, which has gone on for over a month now. It is important to note that Gina Haspel was in Turkey some 10 days ago, which is quite a long time. Possibly the Turks were waiting for a stronger stance with regards to some sort of retribution being announced against those who are behind the murder, the assassination of the late Saudi journalist, possibly some sort of strong message towards the key figure that many people believe gave the order to the assassination of Khashoggi, namely Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. In the absence of such a strong statement, it would appear that Turkey, having tried that maybe behind closed doors diplomacy of showing that evidence to Gina Haspel, but not necessarily letting the world know about it, is now stepping up the pressure by making it public, therefore removing the possibility of plausible deniability, so to speak, from the US officials. It is now clear to the world, as far as the Turks are concerned, that the United States knows what happened. They also say that they've told all their European allies as well of what took place, and therefore they are trying to maybe strongly persuade, let's say, the international community to take a stronger stance. They say, obviously, the messages of condemnation and criticism that have come up were welcomed in the early stages of this crisis. However, there needs to be a much stronger, unified stance taken from the international community, not just because this is a crime against freedom of expression, a crime against journalists, but also this is a crime against Turkish sovereignty. This is a crime that strikes at the very heart of the norms and agreements and treaties that dictate international relations, namely the Vienna Convention and what stipulates how diplomatic missions are governed. So there is so much here at stake. It would appear that just a couple of days before Trump is expected to meet Erdogan on the sidelines of an international summit in France, that Turkish officials timed this announcement. And they have also told Al Jazeera that this meeting between Trump and Erdogan will focus on the Khashoggi case.